Welcome to the Week 9 patch for the 2023 Ether Diver Patch of the Week Challenge. If you've been following along, you know that February's patches got pretty intense. We were doing performance patches, which by definition need to be a full composition, essentially. So I thought you could probably use a break. I could definitely use a break. So we're going to throttle it back a little for March's patches. We're going to at least start with some drum patches. I don't know if we'll do drum patches all month, but for at least a week or two, maybe 3, maybe all month. We'll have to see what happens. But certainly this first week, this is what you might call a typical drum sampling patch from me. This is a patch I made just to create some drum samples that I've subsequently sampled here into the MPC. And I'll play a few of those for you at the end. I'm just going to give you a direct feed of me. A little demo I did. It's not a particularly good beat. It's not a beat at all. It's really just a bunch of drum samples played more or less in time. But not anything you'd ever listen to unless you just wanted to hear some drum samples. Okay, so let's do this patch. First of all, we are triggering the patch. You can see that light up when I tap it. With the ears, we're just using that as a trigger, and we're also using the envelope generator on there. Just generates an envelope based on how hard you hit this. Okay, so and what we're triggering is the Tymp Legio. If we're going to make some drum sounds, might as well start with the drum module, right? Okay. You can see that blue input comes from ears. It goes into the hit input. That's the trigger input. And as you can see, we don't actually have a lot of modulation on here, just into the pitch, which also comes from the ears, comes from the envelope output. And so this is simulating the way, I've got that actually inverted. I go through the blend mixer here, and I've got it inverted, you can see. It's turned here to the left on the minus side. The purpose of that is when you hit a drum, typically what happens is, when you hit the surface, it's at its most excited, i.e. its highest pitch, its fastest vibration, and then it very quickly slows down, and so you get this characteristic boo sort of effect, pitch bend effect, if you will, on the attacks of drum sounds. And so to make these sound a little more realistic, I made that effect by using the envelope from the contact mic inverted into the pitch. Okay, so the output of this module goes here, you can see, use this orange, goes into the Flexshaper. Now the Flexshaper it's a wave shaper, a complex wave shaper. You can shape each segment of the wave. Basically, it divides a wave into these 5 segments, top, bottom, middle top, middle bottom, and middle, okay? And then can distort or change the mapping of each of those segments. I don't know, it's kind of over my head, honestly, how all this works. I've seen pictures and I'm just like, cool. But what it does is it's just kind of a weird distortion in effect, is what I found. A modulatable distortion, which I enjoy. Okay. And we'll go into the modulation of that in just a second. But the output of that goes into the Talon here. Let's see the output into the Talon. I've color-coded this by the pink is the audio, blue, and then everything is color-coded by its source as much as possible. So the blue stuff is sourced from the ears, the green stuff is sourced from the function, blue stuff is a mix output on here, light blue stuff, purple stuff is from sloths. Okay, the blend this is a mixer, an attenuator, just general utility here. Okay, all right. So it goes out of here, out of the Flexshaper, into the Talon, which is turned up. For different samples, I turned it up varying degrees and did different. I moved the distortion here to get different distortions, to get different outputs, more or less distorted, but just to crunch it up a little. And then that just goes out to the output into the mixer. This is about as simple in terms of its audio path as it gets. I guess I could skip the wave shaper, but yeah, and then the wave shaper is where all our modulation is getting used, and we'll just kind of let's go bottom to top here. The bottom input is the green one here. It's a function envelope that's just cycling, goes into its bottom, so it gives it moves it up and down, up and down. The halfway, the center input is being modulated by a sample and hold that's triggered by ears. Okay, so it's just getting a random value. The mid-high is coming from an attenuated sloths output. So it goes sloths into the blend. See, into the blend here at the bottom. Gets attenuated. And then sent to that input, the mid-high or mid-up. And then the top input is it's a blend from the blend of the envelope and the sloth. Okay? And then that's pretty much it. And so what I did here is I set all this up, and then I fired up this tape recorder right here. You can see this is my Kai GX M50D. It's a 3-head tape recorder from the late 70s. GX M50. No D. There's no D in it. Just GX M50. It's a 3-head deck from the late 70s. It distorts really nicely. I really love this deck. Yeah, so run through there and then into my sampler. And then I made a bank of 16 samples. And obviously you can't hear that because I got it on phones right now, but there's the samples that I made. Oops. Okay, and yeah, I will throw in the last 30 seconds or so, just the basically example of the samples. And you know, if you are desperate for some drum samples, you are welcome to sample these off of this YouTube video. I have no problem with that. But if you're patient, or if you just email me or something, I could probably be convinced to send them to you. I think what I'm probably going to do is when I'm done with this whole drum sampling section of the Patch of the Week challenge, I'll probably just throw together a collection of the drum samples, and I'll put them on Gumroad as a pay what you want kind of a thing. Or maybe I'll ask for like $3 for them or something. We'll see. They'll either be free or cheap, though. I can promise that if I do, or when I do end up giving them away, which I almost certainly will, because I like to give things away. And otherwise, I will see you in a week. Thanks.